Hi friends, this week I'm recording my PowerPoint, saving it as an MP4, and then I'm uploading it to YouTube. You know, when making audio presentations, we really need to be cognizant of the equity, and by having video web-based, it means that individuals don't need to be impacted by download speeds or not having access, for example, to PowerPoint. YouTube also allows for closed captions, which is also a part of equity and inclusion that I want you to always be thinking about. So welcome to week 4. It's crazy that it's already week 4, right? But before I introduce week 4, I want to recap the week 3 conversation. Fantastic job, and I appreciate that you were really honest in sharing that you really didn't even know what an AUP was, and also that you actually referred pretty naturally to the literature to support your contributions to the conversation. And you're right, there is a lot of acronyms that us educators need to know. It was also very telling to me that you had no recollection of signing the policy. How can we be expected to adhere to a policy we don't even remember signing? And many of you shared that it was kind of like trying to find a needle in a haystack just to locate the policy. There were a handful of you, on the other hand, who are at schools where the policy is well advertised and actually implemented. What's interesting to me is that some of you in K-12 districts, and you have a district policy for the whole district, for every grade level. Ask yourself, is the wording of the documents not being child-friendly and the actual policies being more about protecting the equipment or the user? There was not a lot of mention of SIPA and COPPA, but keep in mind the age requirements for these, which could impact student access. I want to remind you that it is actually federal law that computers accessed by minors must have filtering software. Think about public libraries and the different sections for computers. I also found it interesting that several of you shared you're not particularly familiar with various resources such as Common Sense Media or Be Internet Awesome. Look into them if you haven't already. Despite your concerns, there were some really great things shared. It's great that some of you are already thinking you have to have conversations with your students, your colleagues, and administration about these policies. This showed me that you're already addressing the ISTE code standards and the equitable and inclusive education goals of our college. I was so happy to see discussion of student-created policies, and it seems that you would agree that we need a multi-pronged approach, not just a one-shot sign here. As you move into applying this conversation to the AUP assignment, think about advocacy and equity. I also want to remind you to consider your role as a tech leader and the importance of just modeling. Now, week 4. You have several tasks for week 4. First is complete the AUP assignment. Make sure you look at my announcement from week 3, where I give more details as well as read the assignment and the rubric very carefully. It is your choice to focus on the teacher, the student, whichever policy and whichever target audience. Keep in mind, the presentation is to bring awareness, not to teach the policy. If your colleagues didn't have familiarity, maybe they're the target audience. Perhaps the parents are the target audience, or possibly your own students. If you're opting to collaborate because you're at the same school, keep in mind your final product should probably reflect the work of more than one person. Make sure you use fullerton.voicethread because this will ensure your presentation has closed captions. You'll get constant reminders in this program about digital inclusion. Just as you model digital citizenship, you should always be cognizant of digital inclusion. You'll submit the link to your VoiceThread in Canvas. Make sure you check the permissions before submitting. You should use what you glean from this week's conversation. One thing I find a lot of people don't do is the lesson plan. As you think about tips, it's not enough to say, teach students about the policy or get parents to sign the policy. It's your job in this presentation to give actual lesson ideas, hopefully student-centered ones, that teachers can implement. It's also time to think about the DE Experience assignment. This is the major assignment for this course. After you've thoroughly read through the assignment directions, share some ideas in discussion 4.1. Keep in mind the differences you noted in week 1 and 2 about remote versus distance. The key with your distance ed experience is having your learners engage with other learners or experts who they would not normally have access to. There is a long list of ideas and resources on the assignment description if you aren't sure where to get started. And we have our group meetings this week. The meetings will be in my Zoom meeting room, and each group has about 45 minutes, so please come prepared. We will go over quick summaries of the literature where you're kind of going to refer back to your annotations, and then we'll just have a conversation about the literature as a whole in relation to your topic. It's actually quite an eye-opening discussion as we really get to see how literature reviews are basically born. Finally, some tips. Consider downloading the Canvas app to your smartphone. You can do quick class check-ins from anywhere. Also, if you're not in the habit of checking your Fullerton emails, you can get announcements sent to an alternate email. Look for the directions on the transcript and below as a comment. That's it from me. I hope you're not getting the flu because it's definitely going around. And stay safe, stay healthy, please stay calm.